Caitlin Clark, making her fourth All-Star appearance and leading the league in steals.
Just 6 words. Caitlin Clark was able to silence the basketball world with just that. An awkward joke or a well-planned gesture that made everyone aware of who really controls the conversation. Social media took off. Music. The stories changed. And after years of cautious messaging, the WNBA was now witnessing a star change the rules in real time. This isn't rumors. This is a tactic. Power is this. And that's only the start. Plum's remark, "The Empire of Clark," bring you back to Indianapolis in July of 2025. Women's basketball at its best was expected to be celebrated during the WNBA All-Star Weekend. Music.
Ready for the culmination of what has been a wonderful celebration all weekend long.
Gamebridge Fieldhouse was crowded with around 17,000 yelling spectators. The top names in the music industry were assembled in one location to perform, and the atmosphere was electrifying. However, beneath the glitz and highlight clips, something was developing that would dominate news reports for weeks to come. Before the game, the players had prepared a strong statement. They were all dressed in black shirts that said, during warm-ups, "Pay us what you owe us." This was more than simply style. Activism was what this was. The players were demanding their fair share as the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement was about to expire in October. Music.
The expiration of the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement and tensions are running high.
In stark contrast to their NBA colleagues, who receive 50% of league revenue, WNBA athletes currently receive only about 9%. Music. In order to make ends meet during the off-season, many of these ladies must play abroad. The message was unambiguous, cohesive, and essential. All of that changed when Kelsey Plum opened her mouth, though. Plum, a guard for the Los Angeles Sparks and the Women's National Basketball Players Association's vice president.
Kelsey Plum to the Sparks. This was the first trade in the league history, and Kelsey Plum heads to LA with the 9th overall pick.
It was seated music behind Sabrina Ionescu, the star of the New York Liberty, at the post-game news conference. While the cameras were rolling and reporters were listening to music, Plum made the decision to reveal something that no one had ever asked for. The T-shirt only united front was decided this morning that we had a music meeting for, she stated in reference to the synchronized shirt protest. Not to give anything away, but none of the Clark team members were present at all for that.
You know, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
For a moment, the room fell silent. Sitting just next to her, Sabrina Music was unable to conceal her response. She responded cynically, rolling her eyes. That was definitely worth mentioning.
We had a very, that really needed to be mentioned.
The uneasiness was evident on Ionescu's music face even at that very time. She was fully aware of Plum's recent actions, and they weren't good, and what seemed to be a small-minded jab at the league's biggest star, Music, had just interrupted what was meant to be a moment honoring player unity and calling for just compensation.
The brightest stars in the game, Caitlin Clark going toe-to-toe with the biggest women's basketball star.
That day, Caitlin Clark wasn't even present on the court. This is when context becomes important. Due to a groin ailment, Caitlin Clark was not present at the meeting and did not participate in the All-Star game. She was at home taking care of herself because she had been battling this problem since the middle of July.
Caitlin Clark will miss tonight's Fever game against the Sparks with a groin issue.
In addition to being incorrect, the notion that she was avoiding player activism or failing to promote her fellow athletes' music was offensive. Clark had played a key role in giving the WNBA previously unheard of prominence. Television ratings have soared since her debut. Music, sales of merchandise were booming. The cost of tickets was rising. Almost immediately, Finnan expansion fees increased from $50 million to $250 million. She was the primary cause of the league's initial ability to negotiate improved terms for Music.
Here comes Clark. This is one thing you get with Clark is great pace and great passes. Found Boston perfectly.
However, the fact that Plum's song was performed in front of the whole basketball community implied that Clark and her group weren't genuinely committed to the cause. The reaction was fast and severe. Social media went crazy. Plum was criticized by fans for being short-sighted, selfish, and jealous. Colin Cow, a sports analyst, criticized Plum for disparaging the one player that converted the WNBA from low-cost planes to private aircraft. The story is told by the data. TV ratings have increased since Clark made his debut. Music-related merchandise is flying off the shelves. The cost of tickets is rapidly increasing.
WNBA is out with new TV viewership numbers. It's been the most watched in the league's history.
Almost overnight, expansion fees have increased from $50 million to $250 million. When it comes to pay negotiations, she is the league's biggest bargaining piece. Plum, however, chose to openly target the WNBA's most precious asset. Clark's timing strategy, music. Caitlin Clark did not respond. Not a single word of defense, not a statement, not even a tweet. Music. Clark went about her work as the internet exploded in support of her, and think pieces discussed veteran animosity toward rookies. She stayed precisely deliberately silent while allowing the commotion to surround her. This was no sign of weakness. Music. The power was computed. Plum didn't understand anything that Clark did. Not responding at all is sometimes the wisest course of action. There are moments when you let your influence and success speak for you. And you only strike when the appropriate time comes, when the ideal moment for your song comes. This is not music checkers, it's chess. Clark was ahead by 3 moves while the others were still catching up.
Decades, the best get-ahead passer, and her three-point shot.
Social media erupted in indignation, fans backed her online, and analysts discussed Plum's remark. However, Clark concentrated on what was important: becoming better, getting ready, and constructing her empire, music, brick by brick. Getting involved right away would have made her appear defensive. It would have strengthened Plum's arguments and validated criticism. She waited as a result. Allow the blowback to do the talking. Let others tell the tale. Plum was ridiculed by Colin Cowherd on national television. The reasoning behind targeting the league's top draw was dismantled by social media. The Eye Roll music, by Sabrina Ionescu, became the story's viral image. And then Clark took action at the exact moment. It arrived only 1 day later. With the straightforward message, "What a weekend!" Kelsey Plum shared pictures of herself grinning with teammates at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis on Instagram in honor of All-Star Weekend music. However, Plum failed to notice something that Clark saw: a large Nike logo in the background. Plum is not an athlete for Nike. In 2022, she made the transition to Under Armour music, launching her own WNBA color scheme. In contrast, Clark has a multi-million-dollar endorsement agreement and is considered Nike royalty in the NFL.
Wall Street Journal reports the basketball superstar is about to sign a Nike endorsement deal worth $28 million.
She was determined not to overlook that oversight. She replied with 6 words. "I appreciate the Nike advertisement." No emojis, no exclamation points, no aggression. Just a shrewd, well-timed remark spoken with the easy assurance of someone who is aware of her own strength. The internet took off. Timelines were filled with screenshots. Petty, clever, or both, according to fans. Podcasts and blogs on sports examined every aspect. Clark had reminded everyone in only 6 words of her power, her command of the brand, and her grasp of the game's financial aspects, something Plum had not understood, even after years of playing in the NBA. The layers contained the brilliance. Although it appeared to be light-hearted irony at first, it was actually a calculated move that served as a subtle but clear reminder of Clark's status as the league's most marketable player.
Caitlin Clark, one of the most dynamic players in the country.
After Plum unintentionally gave her the ideal scenario, Clark struck her with a devastating music blow. It was amusing, insightful, and accurate. It was simply devastatingly successful. It wasn't personal. Clark did not have to enumerate his accomplishments, impact, music ratings, or revenue generation. For her, the 6 words were plenty. Plum fell silent. No defense, no explanation, no rebuttal. Music. Weeks went by. While the internet analyzed every detail, Anna and the story simmered. Plum was aware that she had been outplayed. The optics would only get worse with any response. Music. Caitlin Clark then reminded everyone who is actually in charge of women's basketball. Timing, strategy, and presence are more important than words, press conferences, interviews, or music. Clark was more than just a basketball player. She was a masterclass in control and influence, music. She proved that dominance in the WNBA isn't solely determined by highlights, assists, or points. Music is measured by the ability to read the room, grasp the moment, and know when to strike. And, just as crucially, when music should be quiet. Clark demonstrated that the league's future depends on more than simply athletic prowess in just 6 short sentences. It's about music intelligence, poise, and gaining an unwavering mastery of the game and its surrounding culture. Caitlin Clark did not simply answer music. She reminded everyone that in the current era of women's basketball, timing is crucial, power is earned, and sometimes quiet is more powerful than words. 1 star's strength. Plum, music, didn't publicly address the matter until the middle of August, almost a month later. She walked back her remarks with what can only be called as damage control when she appeared on Sue Bird's program, Bird's Eye View. "Oh, I made a bad joke," Plum acknowledged. "I made a really bad joke."
Oh, I made a bad joke. Yeah, I made a really bad joke. Tough one.
To be completely honest, I said, "Hey, Team Clark," they also missed the meeting. Merely attempting to lighten the mood in the room with a joke. Despite the fact that our team's moniker was hungover, I was joking that they were hungover. Therefore I thought, at least we made it. She continued by expressing sorrow that the remark diverted focus from the true matter at hand, which was player compensation music, in the forthcoming CBA talks. She made it clear that everyone wore the same shirts, that the players were all in unison, and that she never intended for it to become into a tale pitting Caitlin Clark against the veterans. There is much more to this whole story than 2 players teasing each other subtly on social media. It revealed the intricate dynamics that are currently at work in music, the WNBA. While senior athletes who have been working in relative anonymity for years see the landscape music change beneath their feet, a league is witnessing unprecedented growth, partly because to the transcendent appeal of one player. Don't be misled, the growth is genuine and revolutionary. The WNBA was having trouble with viewership, music, prior to Caitlin Clark's entrance, which made primetime games seem like afterthoughts. Half of the arenas were deserted. There was little media attention. Every year, the league was losing about $40 million. Even though there was amazing talent on exhibit, things changed practically immediately when Clark arrived. Music tripled, television ratings doubled, and in certain situations, quadrupled. Her Indiana Fever games turned into music events that people had to see. Products bearing her name and phone number were sold out more quickly than stores could replenish them. The cost of tickets increased.